Hi, welcome to Benza Vineyards in Oregon's beautiful Willamette Valley. This continues our In the Vineyard series, and today we're going to come out of the field and talk about something very different, building a winery. In fact, building a winery in that very building that's appearing towards the bottom of your screen, a tractor barn that we had constructed in 2009 and are now converting it to a winery. Hi, I'm Ron Benza, proprietor of Benza Vineyards, and this conversion of the tractor barn behind me into a winery has been on the radar since 2017. In the end, we settled on a design that was pretty simple. 2 boxes, a barrel hall, and a production space right next to it. And adjoining that, an office, lab, bathroom complex with a pantry, as well as a white wine finishing room. And adjoining, a canopy roof that will allow for bottling trucks to back up and get under the weather. This is the way it looks from both the north and south views. You can see the canopy roof pretty easily, and from the front and back views with the 3 large bays. Overhead, here's the actual site. And we did this to map the road traffic coming in for both box trucks as well as bottling trucks. Well, it's on to demo and taking down the plaster walls, doubling the insulation, and then adding this hydro gap moisture barrier. On top of that, we laid this heavy MDO board, which will be caulked and painted. We did it on the ceilings too in the rooms, and then finished those ceilings with imperial plaster, again for moisture content. All the while, we were stockpiling our supplies that we would need: wood, posts, steel, and everything else that we would need to complete the project in this most challenging of years. The first thing we started on was the CO2 exhaust system for both rooms, 2 separate HVAC systems. This is the intake being put, then that square down below is the exhaust. Electrical also started happening at this point. We need 3-phase power to run a great deal of the winery equipment, and that middle box, the one on the right here, is actually our 3-phase inverter. This big job was the erection of the canopy steel posts that would hold the weight of the canopy roof. We dug these holes 5 feet down, and that cylinder there has a rebar form that later would accept concrete. With adjustments, we were able to get these beams perfectly lined up to accept the load beams from the roof. And along about this time, Payton West joined us as the new winemaker, wondering if his winery is actually going to get finished on time. This was July 1st that he started, and the clock is ticking. In comes the cavalry in the form of Lacey Endicott of Endicott Excavation, and all the equipment that she was able to bring in. This is Lacey on one of the machines. She's been working these machines since she was 9 years old, working for her dad, Lonnie. And here she is breaking up the concrete floors, the existing concrete floors in the tractor barn, getting ready to be able to pour new floors, add rebar, and make sure they slope with drains. This is the interior work. How Lacey did this without touching the walls, I have no idea. But then we were able to dig these drains. These are the actual culverts where the drains would go in both the barrel hall as well as the production space. Meanwhile, there was work to be done on the back of the winery. We had to dig out a channel for the plumbers to lay in plumbing and then start the concrete pouring. This is in the back of the winery. And here they are leveling out the concrete, the first of a lot of the concrete that needed to get poured for this project. The framers were also working. This is actually on the shed roof. This is the shed roof on the north side, not to be confused with the bigger canopy roof. And this is to get a good deal of our equipment out of the weather and have it for shade also in the heavier summer months. As the concrete cured in the canopy posts, we went to the next step and started preparing the roof to accept the big beam posts that we would lay across, and this would form the basic skeletal structure of the load of the canopy roof. Another portion of that load being carried by these horizontal beams that got laid across in a rather ingenious fashion. Framing also continued in the back part of the winery for the office slab, pantry, as well as white wine finishing room. The county nixed our original engineered retaining wall and made us build a highway transportation wall, which is a bit of overkill, but nonetheless what we had to do. It required a great deal of excavation and then the pouring of a gravel bed to accept 8 trucks load of concrete that would form the actual highway construction wall. We poured the base first into rebar and then let that cure. Added number 6 rebar going up vertically, as you could see there, for the actual wall part of it. And then through the forms poured the concrete itself till it was finished. And as I mentioned, 8 trucks worth of concrete for that wall. Here's the finished product. Nice looking wall. We'll stop an 18-wheeler if we ever have one running. And there's the wall itself, and just to give you an idea, that's me standing by the wall. I'm 6'1" and reaching up another 1.5 feet. Glycol chiller has arrived, and now work can be finished on the inside of the building because there's a lot of glycol plumbing that has to be done. But we got to finish those floors first, and here they are pouring the last piece of concrete in the barrel hall. Getting that ready. This is the production space where you could see the beginning of the drains are in. There they are. And the glycol tubing has started to be placed everywhere we need it, along with the manifolds to carry both the hot and cold glycol that we can plug into with our hoses for our tanks eventually, when this becomes a winery. In the back of the winery, Lacey is taking out a large part of the berm that exists there to give us more flat space. And here she is with a feathering bucket, just trimming and tailoring that side slope until it looked like this. Drains were added, as we'll have a lot of water pouring out there, and that part there will be asphalted. At this point, Lacey extended her efforts to the wraparound road in grading it so that we can get a better surface coming in. This will eventually be part asphalt and part gravel for the big trucks. And then processed water and septic tanks needed to be added, and an entire septic crew worked on the property, but have very few shots of them, strangely enough. A lot of their work was done in some of the lower fields, but this is the stuff close to the winery right here. That will all be graveled over and then asphalted over so that you'll be able to drive over it. Well, we're nowhere near done, but in order to make wine, we've got to have the drains working. The drains are done on the inside of the building, but they've got to drain into something, and that's what these culverts are for, in order to go to those process tanks you just saw. Payton's wondering, is it really going to happen? I've got equipment arriving right now. I've got a press, I've got all the sorting equipment that's coming in right behind it on another truck, and all the rest of the tanks are arriving. This is going to be a close call. This is what winemakers stay up at night worrying about. Stay tuned for part 2 of this video to see if we actually made it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. It really helps grow the channel. By all means, come and check us out at benza.com. And be sure to check out part 2 of Building a Winery. Take care. Bye-bye.